Hi, welcome to this week's video. My name's Paul. So this week is again watercolor landscape painting. And like last week's video, while you're watching me doing the painting, I'm going to be talking about some stuff. So the stuff that I'm talking about this week is how to make progress as an artist, as a painter. There are lots and lots of videos out there on YouTube about how to get started in watercolor painting or oil painting or whatever medium you're most interested in. But there may be not as many videos on how to make progress, how to move from that sort of beginner level up to, say, intermediate and advanced levels. And there may be a few different reasons for this. One of them might just simply be that it's relatively easy to make a video about how to get started in watercolor painting. You can talk about concrete things like what materials do I need, what techniques can you use in watercolor painting. So you have definite things to talk about. I think the problem with how do I make progress in art is not everybody will have the same ideas about what that even means. What does it mean to make progress in art? It's a bit more subjective. You could say, well, I want to make better paintings, but again, that's subjective. Words like better, good, bad, they're all very subjective, especially when it comes to art. So maybe the first thing I have to do in this video is try and establish what I mean when I say make progress. And the way I'm going to look at it is, so we have maybe 3 different areas, and we've already looked at 2 of them or talked about them. The first one is materials, and the second one is techniques. And as I say, at the beginner level, that's really what you're focusing on, learning those things. The next level up then is maybe knowledge, increasing your knowledge about art. So what I mean is learning things like what's the difference between linear perspective and aerial perspective? What do they mean when they talk about things like values? What is the difference between, say, an open composition and a closed composition? What does composition mean as well? Also, looking at art movements and things from the past. What were they doing? Why were they doing it? What were they trying to achieve by painting in a certain way? I think all of this knowledge is what will help you to move from that sort of beginner level up to the next level. Because I always think that painting is a set of choices that we have to make. So things like, what techniques am I going to use? Am I going to use, in the case of watercolor, is it wet in wet or wet on dry? Am I going to use dry brush techniques? Beginner level, you learn what these things are, but the next level up is how to use them in a controlled way, if you like, in a purposeful way. So really, painting then to me is a set of choices, and if you have the knowledge, you can make informed choices rather than just sort of guesswork. So it could be simple things like using linear perspective, using aerial perspective. It could even be something as simple as the orientation of the paper or the shape of the paper that you're using and why you're using that. In terms of composition, are you going to have an open composition like this painting, or are you going to have a center of interest, or maybe more than one center of interest? And if you choose to have a center of interest or a focal point, why are you doing that? And how are you going to do it? What techniques are you going to use to create that center of interest? So these are all choices, and as I say, if you get the knowledge of art, of what all of these things are and why you might use them, I think that will move you, that will help you to progress from that beginner level up to, say, intermediate or advanced level. I think another aspect of making progress is, maybe to explain it, I used to be a teacher. I used to teach English as a foreign language in Japan. and students would come to class, and I mainly focused on teaching adults, specifically adults who needed English for business. So they would come to class, and one of the things that annoyed me was that in class they were often kind of shy or reluctant to speak in case they made mistakes. And it may tie back to the sort of education system in Japan, where making mistakes was seen as a bad thing. But the thing is, if you're trying to learn a language, or you're trying to learn to play a musical instrument, or you're trying to learn to do watercolor paintings, or whatever it is, I guarantee that you will make mistakes, that you will have things that you look at and you think, well, that wasn't so successful. Because that's part of the learning process, and you have to accept it as part of the learning process, I think, and look at it not as a negative thing, not sort of, why do I keep making these mistakes, but rather as a positive thing. So in the case of watercolor painting, if you're not completely happy with the final result, which parts of the final result specifically are you not happy with? And then how can you change those to be happier? And I think it really is all about what makes you happy in the final result, not painting for other people, not painting kind of, well, if I do this, people will like it. I think you have to paint for yourself in order to make progress as an artist. Well, as I said, I don't know if this is helpful to anybody. It is, I think, a more difficult thing to talk about, making progress. I say how to get started is relatively simple. Just, oh, you need this and you need that and do this technique. But I do think that gaining knowledge about art, about past art movements and things, and why they did certain things and how they did them, and how you can apply that to your own art, and being able to make informed decisions, informed choices about, say, composition or color palette and things. If you can do all of those things, and again, it's something that I'm trying to do as well with my own art, I think we can make progress. We can move from that sort of beginner level up to intermediate, and then from intermediate to advanced level. Well, if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. Hopefully see you in next week's video.